Hey, stop scrolling right now. If you have a driver's license in the United States, what I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes could literally save you from losing it. I'm not joking. Thousands of American drivers are about to get blindsided by a deadline most people have never even heard of. And the DMV is not sending reminders. Picture this. You wake up one morning, hop in your car, and get pulled over for something minor. But instead of a simple ticket, the officer tells you your license has been suspended. No warning, no second chance, just a suspended license, potential fines, and the nightmare of trying to sort it out at your local DMV. Here's the scary part. It's already happening. Drivers in states across the country are finding out too late that 2026 brought new compliance requirements, updated Real ID enforcement rules, and stricter renewal deadlines that quietly went into effect. Whether you're in California, Texas, Florida, New York, or anywhere in between, this affects you. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what the deadline is, which states are cracking down hardest, what happens if you miss it, and most importantly, how to make sure your license stays valid today. This is the video your DMV doesn't want you to find. If you want to keep your license safe in 2026, smash that like button right now, and let's get into it. DMV Alert 2026, full YouTube script post-hook. All right, so let's get right into it. Because if you're still watching, that tells me you're smart enough to take this seriously. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to be really glad you did. So here's what's actually going on. The federal government has been quietly rolling out changes to the Real ID Act enforcement timeline for years now. And 2026 is the year it all comes to a head. You might have heard the term Real ID thrown around before and kind of brushed it off, thinking it was just some government thing that didn't really affect your day-to-day life. But here's the truth. It absolutely does, and the clock is ticking louder than ever. Let me give you a quick background so everything makes sense. Back in 2005, Congress passed the Real ID Act in response to the 9/11 Commission's recommendations around national security. The whole idea was to create a standardized, more secure form of identification across all 50 states. For years, the government kept pushing back the enforcement deadline, and people got comfortable assuming it would never really kick in. But those days are over. The Department of Homeland Security has made it crystal clear that 2026 enforcement is not getting pushed back again. This is it. This is the real deal. So what does that actually mean for your driver's license? Well, starting in 2026, if your driver's license or state ID is not Real ID compliant, you will not be able to use it as a valid form of identification for domestic air travel, entry into federal buildings, military bases, or certain federal facilities. Now, I know some of you are thinking, okay, but I'm not flying anywhere or walking into a federal building anytime soon. And here's where I want you to slow down and really think about this because it goes much deeper than that. Many states are also tightening up their own internal renewal requirements in conjunction with the federal Real ID push. What that means is that when you go to renew your license, and depending on your state, that renewal window is either already open or coming up fast. You may be required to present documentation that proves your identity, your social security number, and your proof of residency in ways that your old renewal process never required. If you show up unprepared, you won't just be inconvenienced. In some states, your renewal can be denied on the spot, leaving you driving on an expired license without even realizing what happened. And here is where people are actually getting into serious trouble. Driving on an expired or non-compliant license is not just a technicality. In many states, it's a moving violation that can result in fines anywhere from $100 to over $500 depending on how long your license has been expired. In more extreme cases, especially if you're stopped during a routine traffic check or after a minor accident, officers have the authority to cite you or even impound your vehicle. This is not a scare tactic. This is what's happening right now in states like Texas, Georgia, and Ohio, where DMV offices have reported massive backlogs and thousands of drivers showing up without the required Real ID documents. Let's talk about those documents for a second, because this is where most people get tripped up. To get a Real ID compliant license, you generally need to bring 4 categories of documents to your DMV. First, you need proof of identity. This is typically a birth certificate or a valid U.S. passport. Second, you need proof of your social security number. A social security card, a W-2, or a pay stub with your full social security number on it. Third, you need 2 proofs of your state residency. These can be utility bills, bank statements, or lease agreements. And fourth, if your name has changed at any point due to marriage, divorce, or any other legal reason, you need to bring the documentation proving that name change, such as a marriage certificate or a court order. Now here's where it gets really important. A lot of people go to the DMV thinking they have everything, and they still get turned away. Why? Because the documents need to be originals or certified copies, not photocopies, not digital scans on your phone, not printouts from your email. The DMV wants the real thing in your hand when you walk through that door. And if even one document is missing or unacceptable, you will be sent home and forced to start the entire appointment process over again. Speaking of appointments, if you haven't already scheduled yours, you need to do it today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. DMV offices across the country are absolutely slammed right now. In states like California, Florida, and New York, appointment wait times are stretching anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks out. That might not sound too alarming right now, but think about it this way. If your license is expiring in the next 2 to 3 months and you're waiting 6 weeks just to get an appointment, you're already cutting it dangerously close. And if something goes wrong at your appointment, like a missing document, you're potentially looking at driving on an expired license while you wait for a second appointment. Let me also talk about something that a lot of people completely overlook, and that's the issue of license suspensions tied to things you might not even know are on your record. This is one of the most common ways people unknowingly end up with a suspended license and don't find out until they're sitting in front of a police officer. In 2026, many states have updated their automated systems to flag and suspend licenses for outstanding court fines, unpaid traffic tickets, child support arrears, and even certain medical conditions that were reported to the DMV years ago and never followed up on. The problem is that most people assume that if their license isn't physically expired, it must be fine. But a suspension can be sitting on your record right now that you have absolutely no idea about. So what should you do? Pull up your state's DMV website and look for the driver's license status check tool. Almost every state has one now, and it takes less than 2 minutes to run a check on your own license. All you need is your license number and your date of birth. This one simple step could save you from an incredibly embarrassing and expensive situation on the road. Now let's talk about older drivers for a moment, because this group tends to be hit the hardest by these kinds of changes, and it's not talked about enough. Many seniors have driver's licenses that were issued before modern documentation requirements were put in place. Their licenses might be valid and not expired, but they may have never gone through the real ID verification process because they renewed online or through the mail in previous years. In 2026, many states are ending the option to renew by mail or online for older drivers who have not yet completed an in-person real ID verification. This means millions of seniors across the country are going to need to physically visit a DMV office, potentially for the first time in many years, and navigate a documentation process that wasn't required the last time they went in. If you have an elderly parent, grandparent, or neighbor, please share this video with them. This is exactly the kind of thing that slips through the cracks for people who aren't online constantly reading government announcements. Let's also take a moment to address people who have recently moved from one state to another, because this is another major area where licenses get suspended or become invalid without the driver realizing it. Every state has a different window of time in which you're required to update your license after establishing residency. In some states, that window is as short as 30 days. In others, it's 60 or 90 days. But in 2026, with stricter enforcement in place, driving on an out-of-state license past that window is no longer being treated as an administrative inconvenience. It's being treated as a violation. If you've moved in the last year and you still have your old state's license in your wallet, please check your new state's requirements immediately. There's also an important conversation to have around people who use their driver's license as their primary form of ID for things like voting, opening a bank account, or picking up a package that requires signature verification. If your license is suspended or expired and you don't have a passport or another government-issued ID, life gets complicated really fast. Think about trying to board a domestic flight and being turned away at security. Think about going to pick up a prescription that requires identification and being turned away at the pharmacy counter. Think about trying to verify your identity for a new job and having nothing valid to show your employer. These are real-world consequences that ripple outward in every direction, and they all trace back to one moment where someone didn't take the deadline seriously enough. Here's the bottom line. Getting ahead of this is not hard, but it does require action, and it requires action right now, not when your renewal notice eventually shows up in the mail. Step 1. Go online today and check the current status of your driver's license in your state. Step 2. Look up whether your license is already Real ID compliant. There should be a star or a marking in the upper corner of your card if it is. Step 3. If it's not compliant, or if your license is coming up for renewal in the next 6 months, start gathering your documents right now. Get your birth certificate, your social security card, and your 2 proofs of residency together and put them in a safe, accessible place. Step 4. Go to your state's DMV website and book an appointment as soon as possible, even if your renewal isn't technically due for a few months. The earlier you go, the shorter the lines, and the better your chances of getting in and out smoothly. And one more thing. If your license was recently suspended for any reason and you're not sure how to get it reinstated, don't try to navigate that process alone. Most states have a reinstatement fee, a required waiting period, and sometimes a mandatory hearing or course completion before your license can be restored. A local traffic attorney can often help you navigate that process faster and make sure you're not missing any steps that could delay your reinstatement. Look, the government is not going to hold your hand through this. They're not going to send you a certified letter. They're not going to run an ad campaign making sure every driver in America knows about the 2026 deadline. It's on you to stay informed and take action. That's exactly why videos like this one matter. And that's exactly why sharing this information with the people you care about is so important. You now know more about what's coming in 2026 than the majority of drivers on the road right now. Don't let that knowledge sit unused. Take 5 minutes today, run your license check, gather your documents, and book your appointment. Future you, the one who can still legally drive wherever they want, whenever they want, is going to be incredibly grateful. If this video helped you or gave you information you didn't already have, please give it a like right now. It genuinely helps this video reach more drivers who need to see it before it's too late. Drop a comment below and let me know what state you're in. I read every single one and I want to know if this is hitting close to home for you. And make sure you're subscribed with the bell turned on, because we're covering more DMV and license updates throughout 2026 that you absolutely cannot afford to miss. Stay safe out there and make sure you're legal every single time you get behind that wheel.